rising tide, yes. I'm really honored to introduce Reverend Nikki Robbins. She is a staff minister at Granada Hills, and she comes to us by way of Granada Hills. A couple of things I always ask people, what do you want me to talk about? She said she teaches tennis. She's a tennis pro. And also, she is a third generation Angelino. Can you believe that? Her family's been here forever. She does spiritual coaching. She has done grief work, but she also works with incarcerated individuals, which is amazing from my way of thinking. Please, warm welcome for Reverend Nikki.
Good morning, Seal Beach. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak at your wonderful center. I must say I have a kinship to this area because my mom grew up in Naples, just right across that way, I think. And so I'm going to go check out her childhood home afterwards. And it's kind of fun to be here because I think the last time I was here was when I was little, when we drove by her house and she said that was it. So I have this vague memory. And then also my best friend from childhood lives down the street, and she's that first friend I met in kindergarten. And since we're talking about community this month, what a better place to be. And we're going to go out to lunch afterwards to celebrate our birthdays. And her birthday is 3 weeks before mine. And a little fun fact is all through elementary and high school, she told me how she was older than me. And guess who gets the last laugh on that one? So we're talking about community, sharing a dream, going farther together. Together we go farther. And Walter Starkey says, we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe, so we can literally change our universe. It's up to us. Together we can change. As a community, we can change what we want our center to look like. It's really our choice. Ernest Holmes says, I believe I have a slide for this, in Living the Science of Mind, I think it's on page 185, no one can live to himself alone. Other people are so much a part of our lives that we cannot think of living without them. On the other hand, much of our trouble comes because of others. We must be with others, enjoy them, act with them, without them in any way seeking to control their actions. The well-adjusted person is the one who has been permitted to be an individual, but who also has learned to cooperate with others. So we're our own individuals. We don't want to control each other, and then we learn how to cooperate. That sounds like a good community. This past year, I know a lot of us spent a lot of time alone with the pandemic. I personally spent so much time watching Netflix that if you say the show, I'll probably say, saw it. Shall we try this? Yeah, I saw it. I saw that one too. One of my best friends, though, she has a lung condition, so she pretty much didn't leave her house the whole year except to go to her brother's and her mother's backyard. And she did Instacart to get food delivered. I mean, it's great with our technology nowadays that we really don't have to leave our house to do anything. She had an electric car, so she was able to plug in her car, so she didn't have to go to the gas station. But what happens is that when we don't interact with people, we kind of get set and we're not growing. Carolyn Mace talks about sacred contracts. Have you heard of this? Where we come into this realm, this manifestation, and before we come here, we make agreements with people to work through our stuff. My dad, we worked through a lot of stuff. And I can say when I was holding his hand when he took his last breath, I knew every issue that we had when on this manifestation was simply healed and released. It was just spectacular. I can't even express the gratitude. So I got my master's at USM, University of Santa Monica, and we talk about these people that kind of push our buttons as our stackers. They come in and they kind of like burp, burp, give us that little opportunity for growth. So when we are in community, these are the people that we run into. Pema Chodron tells us a story about a Bengali tea boy. Has anyone heard this story? So this Buddhist master was going to Tibet, and he heard that everyone in Tibet was so generous and kind and flexible and open that he thought he'd better bring his tea-boy with him, because his tea-boy was ornery and kind of pushed his buttons, and so he felt he needed to have someone there to keep him on the straight and narrow. But what he found out when he got there is that he didn't really need his tea-boy, because the people in Tibet did push his buttons and did give him opportunities to grow. So, it's always around. So why are these Bengali tea boys so important to us? Why do we need people like this in our lives? Because these are the areas, these are the aspects of ourselves that we reject. So if someone's pushing our buttons, there's something within us that hasn't healed. Because if someone is upsetting us, there's something in me that I go, why are they upsetting me? What haven't I healed? Have they broken a rule that I've established that, only good people do such and such a thing, and since they didn't do that, maybe they're not a good person. But the truth is that whatever people are reflecting to us is really what we are working on. And I have this little phrase, you spot it, you got it. So if someone is irritating us, I spot it, I got it. So it's something to stop and think about when next time we get angry, that person that cuts us off on the freeway and we give the friendly wave. So just kind of think. I always think when people cut me off in traffic, and I had to drive a bit away to get here, but luckily there was no traffic. I always think when people cut me off that I don't know what's going on in their life. When they cut me off on the freeway, I know there's times that I'm frantically trying to get home to get to the bathroom. And let me tell you, I'm not even paying attention to anyone on the road, because my mind is, I need to get home to get to the bathroom. Or what happens if there was a tragedy in their life and they're just not focused? So when people cut me off in traffic, I pretty much send love to them, because I know that there's something going on in their life that they are not present in what's going on here and around them. So the African proverb, I believe I have a slide for this. We go faster alone, but together we go farther. This became very present for me when I was in ministerial school. Actually, I just graduated this last year during the pandemic from ministerial school, and I had the most amazing classmates. My very first class was Minister as a Speaker. Brand new ministerial student, they're saying, hey, guess what? Go up on the platform and you're going to give a 15 to 20 minute sermon without notes. Now, I was a Toastmaster. I'm relatively comfortable speaking in front of a group. This was at the Redondo Beach Church. Have any of you ever been there? It's actually a spectacular, sits 250 people, has this massive platform. It's an amazing church. So I practiced all week. I practiced with my dogs, I practiced with my tennis students, I practiced with everyone who was willing to listen to me, and I'm sure my dogs can get up here and would have been able to give my sermon. My topic was Mother's Day. So I grabbed the mic and I'm like, oh, all you mothers, those who have mothers, four-legged mothers, and the fathers who are mothers. Yeah, that was what happened. That was what's next. Not a word was left in my head. I had no idea what my topic was about. I had no idea what I was going to say. I just stood there in sheer horror that the whole sermon that I had memorized and I knew backwards and forward was gone. And I stood there and I paced a little bit and I said, oh, Jesus says. And my fellow classmate who I just met the week before was sitting right about where you are, sir. And she said, what did Jesus say? Trying to encourage me. And I looked at her and said, I don't know. I don't know what Jesus said. Well, I went into spiritual mind treatment knowing that the mind that wrote the speech knew the speech and was going to give the speech. And I just started mumbling something about giving a speech. And then I finished and I put the mic down and I think I ran straight to the bathroom and I cried. Because, I failed. I failed royally. My first class in ministerial school, how am I going to be a minister and get up and speak in front of people if I can't remember my sermon? Well, my community, my ministerial community, rallied around me, dried my tears, picked me up, and that's where the community comes in. It's okay to fail. Fail royally. For me, that's a hard thing. I'm not very good as a sports person. We don't like to fail. Sports is a lot about winning. But that's when my community came and they picked me up. And to this very day, they're just some of my best friends. And actually next week, you all are so blessed because one of my fellow classmates, Reverend Veronica, I believe is coming to speak here. And she's spectacular. So make sure to be here next week. So, yeah. So I still get a little nervous speaking in front of people, and I wanted to check out your service here. And so I went online, and I watched some of your videos. And the very first video I watched was last week's sermon. And you guys had Reverend Dr. Guy Williams. Great. So I've given maybe about 7 sermons in my life, and now I'm following Dr. Reverend Guy. Oh my goodness. And I was having, I went to my head minister, I'm like, Reverend Mike, they had Dr. Reverend Guy last week. I've had 7 sermons under my belt, and how am I going to speak to these people after they had this amazing speaker? He was one of my favorite teachers. His stories are spectacular. His stories are just wonderful, and I was watching it because I always learn from him. He was talking about, embracing your fear, and so here I am embracing my fear, stepping into this. But, Reverend Mike reminded me that Dr. Reverend Guy has been a minister for 30 years. So I figured he's given about 2,000 sermons, so I just have 1,993 more to go, and then maybe I'll be up to that. But Reverend Mike said something very wise to me, as senior ministers usually do. He said in 12 steps, there's a phrase, compare and despair. So when we're in our community, there's always someone who's a lot more experienced than us, and there's always people who are not quite as experienced. So if we're comparing ourselves to someone else, that's when we're going to get into that self-doubt, that I'm not good enough. Look how good they are. And let me tell you, I doubled down on that doubt. So Gina, I loved what you said about, stepping boldly and trusting faith, because faith is really how this all works. It's just really that strong anchor point for all of us. So yeah, Reverend Mike got me thinking straight. There's something about a little senior spiritual director to set me straight in my thoughts. So yeah. So as Carol said, I am a tennis coach. I run a tennis academy over in Studio City, and sports is a huge community. And in my life, we pretty much grew up with sports. My whole family, my brother was the captain of the football team. I think I did ice skating, gymnastics, softball. I did everything. And sports is a great community. It's really important that when we're part of a sports team, it's a community. Now, there's the saying, there's no I in team, but there is a me. And it's my responsibility as a team member to be the best team member that I can. I need to take care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually, to be a part of that community. And so it's super important as a team member. I have insert comment about the Dodgers. So I don't know, is that too soon? I was like, oh, the Dodgers are great. Look, they're in Game 7. But now, yeah, just insert comment about Dodgers. But it's really important for the team, both offensive and defensive, to come together because it takes both parts of the team. And if the offense is strong and the defense is weak, well, there is no Game 7. So also, I was thinking, one of my coworkers, I was telling about the theme, and she said, oh, like a relay race team. So I remember the U.S. track team, the relay race team, 3 out of 4 of them ran great. And that 4th person didn't quite do the baton handoff well enough. So it's really important that all parts of the team work together. But if I'm not taking care of my part of the team, if I am stressed, if I'm upset, if I'm not focused, then the team's going to fail. So that goes as part of our community too. So we're no good to our community if we're not functioning on full speed. But the secret is that's where our community comes and lifts us up. So that's very important for our community. So what are the things that keep me from taking care of me? Well, like I said, stress, being too busy, being overwhelmed, getting into that overwhelmed thought of, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I know for me personally, I tend to get a little busy. I run a tennis program, I'm doing ministerial on the side, and I just get into this cycle of too busyness. And for me, it's really important that I stop and I meditate. Or like I did this week, I'll call Reverend Mike or Reverend Nancy Woods, who's this amazing minister at our church, and she's just a big bundle of love, and she just comes and gives you a hug, and then everything's okay. So what else can we do? We can medicate. There's a little Freudian slip. We can medicate, but we can meditate, we can journal, and sometimes just a radical forgiveness, just dropping the rock. Is there something that we're holding on to that no longer serves us? Is there something that we can just release into the nothingness? Radical forgiveness is just the most amazing thing ever. So I invite you to just ponder, like, is there something that you're holding on to that's no longer serving you? Now, I said at the very beginning, we're spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe, and so we can literally change our universe. I remember the first time someone told me that God was living in me as me. I was like, really? God is in me as me? And I had a bunch of surgeries as a baby, and so I experienced a lot of chronic pain growing up. And my teacher said to me, yeah, God is experiencing your pain as you. And I was dumbfounded. This was about 12 years ago. And I just couldn't believe that God was in me as me. And I wanted to tattoo it on my arm so I wouldn't forget it. Well, fast forward, yeah, that's our basic premise of our church. And now I just realize that God is me as me, and I can do whatever I need to do to take care of myself and to release this pain. So talking about sports analogies, that was a game changer. Huge change changer in my life. It was a huge paradigm shift that really allowed me to actually release pain that was in my body because I knew God had it. I knew I could just send it to God, and God is my community, so I was just able to release that. So I was thinking about all those books that I read before I understood this concept, and I want to go back and read them, like Celestine Prophecy or The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, things I read in college that now I'm like, oh wow, there was probably even a deeper meaning than I really knew. So I have another slide. And Ernest Holmes says the same thing. Truth about man is that he is God made manifest. He is the personality of God. Jesus said, what did Jesus say? He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Ernest says this means that we approach reality directly through our spiritual natures. So here we are. Ernest even says this to us, that our reality is created by our spiritual nature. So it's really up to us to change this. So in a few weeks, I'm going to be teaching a 6-week Zoom workshop called Living Intentionally, Setting Yourself Up for Success in 2022. And we're going to be using a book, Technology of Intention, by an agape practitioner, Kim Terranova. And I want us to create intentions for 2022, because so many people have been stalled in 2021, just, oh, the pandemic's over. No, it's not. Now the Delta. And a lot of people I've discovered are just kind of stuck in that thought of, I can't go out, I can't do, where what we do, if we have a mental equivalent of what we want to happen in our world, we can create this. Why? Because we're spiritual beings having this human experience in the spiritual universe. So we're going to be talking about setting up intentions for 2022, health, finances, relationship, and for me the most important thing is for play. I really need to remind myself to set myself up for play. So, because a lot of times these thoughts will run around in my head, and when I'm teaching classes, I call it the rat-a-tat-tat. Thoughts are things, and that rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat that goes on in our head, the humming, the monkey mind, the busyness, so if I can work on my thoughts and have intentions for my thoughts to move forward in 2022, then that way the road just opens up nice with ease and grace. Now I want to tattoo grace on my arm, on my wrist, because now I know God is in me as me, and I know he works through grace. So what is an intention? I have a slide for this. So intention is a positive statement that lets God, Spirit, the universe know what direction we intend to have our lives moving towards. An intention uses qualities of being, positive statements, uses descriptive words. You can say what you would like to manifest. A lot of people will say, well, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to eat junk food, I want to go to the gym. But we want to think about a quality of life. What do we want to manifest in our life? So I want to lose weight. I want to fit into this dress better. Instead, I'm going to say I am manifesting a life of health, wealth, and joy. So it's not a certain thing. It's more of the quality. What's my favorite quality? So I am making healthy choices which support my body, mind, and spirit. Another one is I want a boyfriend, I want a partner, I want a girlfriend. Instead, I am living my life joyfully, attracting the right and perfect people to me. So I'm going to live my life joyfully, and therefore I'm attracting the right and perfect people to me. So ways to affirm our intentions is to remember that we're spiritual beings, so we can change our universe. I think I've mentioned that. Knowing our intentions are already done, already complete in the mind of God. Speak our affirmations, our intentions throughout the day. My watch goes off every day at 12 o'clock to remind me the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Because there was a while there where I was concerned about finances, and I kept worrying about finances, and I kept having financial issues. But once I realized that the universe supports me, and the universe, not my job, is my source and my supply, I'm able to go to ministerial school on Saturdays instead of coach tennis, and it just unfolds with ease and grace. So you can even place a copy of your intentions in your bathroom, in your car, on the refrigerator door. And I always like to add this or something better for my highest good. So I know Marjorie was talking about your pledge drive, and this is a great opportunity for your community to come together to set your intentions for your pledge drive and your new minister, whoever that may be. It's such a great opportunity for this church. So I know for you all, wonderful blessings and love, and creating these amazing intentions for your center for great success. Thank you so much for letting me share.